This is the brand new updated BMW X7. The X7 was announced in 2014 and went on sale in 2019. At over 5 metres long, it's BMW's largest SUV, or sports activity vehicle in BMW parlance, and it's been marketed as the SUV alternative to the flagship BMW 7 Series limousine. It competes against other large luxury SUVs from Mercedes, Lexus, Cadillac, Lincoln, and some of the US-focused Japanese luxury brands. According to BMW, the X7 is their best-selling luxury car, meaning that they sell more of these large SUVs than the 7 Series sedan, so it's certainly been a commercial success. Why then have they quietly updated this car with a rather dramatic change to the front design less than 3 years after the car's initial release, and a week before the much-anticipated launch of the BMW 7 Series and its all-electric version, the BMW i7? I suspect the answer is because the X7 is BMW's best-selling luxury car. BMW don't want it to look outdated alongside the upcoming 7 Series, which is due for a radical design change even for a matter of months. But it does mean that despite cryptic teaser videos designed to conceal the front design of the new 7 Series and parts of the interior, that the cat is now out of the bag. We've got a pretty good idea what the front of the 7 Series will look like, and the big news as well with the X7 are the so-called horizontally split headlights. What that means is that there are 2 rows of headlights with part of the front bumper in between. The daytime running lights and indicators are in the upper row, and the fog and headlights are in the lower row. BMW say the lower unit gives the impression of retreating into the background, with the dark housing and deeply embedded position. I'm not convinced that they are subtle when looking at the front, and I don't think they were designed to be. In my view, they were designed to increase the proportion of the front end dedicated to the headlights over the previous design. So why have they done this? Well, the main feature of the 2019 version of the X7 was the huge front kidney grille. BMW call this the car's unique character profile and admit that it constitutes, quote, a visually impactful front end. Apparently, this was designed to appeal to the Asian and American markets, but here in Europe, many commentators thought it was oversized and resembled 2 large front teeth. Personally, I think the front of the X7 is tall enough to take such a large grille. However, in their quest to present the 7 Series and the X7 as stablemates, with a strong family resemblance between the two, BMW introduced the oversized grille to the 7 Series sedan. I think most would agree that if the grille looked too large on the X7, it looked absurd on the 7 Series. I suspect the reason for introducing the horizontal split lights is to make the headlights look larger relative to that massive grille, in order to enhance the proportions of the front end. In the press release, BMW call it a design refinement. And I think it works, at least on the X7. Top Gear have commented that the new look is 400% more obnoxious than the 2019 design, but I don't agree. So what makes me think the 7 Series will follow suit? Well, although the teaser video only shows the upper portion of the split headlights, it's clear they're not really large enough in themselves to house all of the lighting functions. We can see from the teaser that BMW are sticking with a very large grille for the 7 Series, so such slim and highly elevated headlights would make the grille look even more out of proportion than the current car. In testing videos with camouflage vehicles, BMW have shown both the upper and the lower parts of the split headlights illuminated, and BMW have admitted in the X7's press release that split headlight units are making their debut in the X7, i.e. we're going to see it in future models. So take a good look at the new X7 headlamps, as I think we're going to see them on the 7 Series in very similar form in a week's time. So what else is new on the front? Well, rather than making the grille smaller, BMW have decided to illuminate it, just in case you'd missed it. Fortunately not with Christmas tree lights, but with discrete Cascade lighting, no doubt inspired by Niagara Falls. Again, the teaser vehicle shows us that the 7 Series will also have an illuminated front grille. So what else is new on the exterior? Well, not very much. The side profile is virtually unchanged. BMW say the tail lights have been accentuated with 3-dimensional sculpting. I quite like the effect of the graphics within the lights, but it seems to me that the overall shape hasn't really changed much over the previous design. Perhaps the tail lights on the new 7 Series will be equally minimalist, emphasising the horizontal rather than the vertical. I think certainly we can expect similarly interesting three-dimensional sculpting and graphics. So what about the interior? Overall, it's quite similar to the current car. Outside of Europe, the white quilted leather seats will no longer be leather. They'll be made from something called Sensafin, which in the words of BMW's marketing department is, quote, high-quality vegan surface material with leather-like properties, end quote. It'll be interesting to see if in the future imitation handbags also market themselves as being made from vegan surface material with leather-like properties. Jokes aside, fake leather on such an expensive vehicle is still fake leather, and to suggest it's eco-friendly might make sense on an electric i7 or even the iX SUV, but it's wholly unconvincing on a car that is essentially a large, heavy, fossil fuel consuming gas guzzler that's purchased for comfort and prestige rather than its environmental credentials. The big changes to the interior is the new widescreen curved display. This incorporates the speedometer and instruments alongside the infotainment. The speedometer section is 12.3 inches and the infotainment section is 14.9 inches, which is essentially the size of most full-size laptops. Together, those screens are very wide indeed, and even on the expansive X7 dashboard, they look very large. It looks very similar to the unit used on the iX, and from the 7 Series preview video, it looks likely that it'll be replicated on that car, where I imagine it'll look equally impressive, if not more so, given that the X7 would presumably have a larger dashboard than the 7 Series. Another unusual feature is the so-called Illuminated Light Bar under the wood trim on the dashboard. We know that the 7 Series is due to have a similar feature from the teaser video, although it does look more impressive on that car. It's a crystal sculpted light material which appears to refract different colours of light depending upon the ambient light settings that you select. The X7 light bar appears far more modest by comparison, and to my eye, it's a bit of a gimmick that doesn't really work. Not only is the X7 logo illuminated, but there appear to be multiple chevron shapes that also light up. To me, these look a bit like motorway warning lights, and they don't look sufficiently premium. I suspect they've introduced this feature to try to bridge the gap between the interior of the X7 and 7 Series, but in the case of the X7, I don't think it's well executed. Other developments are the removal of the traditional gear selector, which was historically jokingly referred to as Robocop's thumb, and the replacement of that with a toggle switch which you can use to select gears. This makes the gear selector less prominent within the controls, which are bundled together with the iDrive rotary dial. I assume it's been done to standardise the gear selector between the fossil fuel and electric BMW models. It's okay, but other manufacturers such as Jaguar and Maserati have in the past opted for novel gear selectors, only to then revert back to more traditional gear stick selectors. Whilst the Robocop's thumb selector was slightly unusual when it was introduced back in the early 2000s, it's proven to be a relatively good ergonomic solution. When you're driving, it's easily at hand for when you want to change drive mode. You don't need to look down, and you certainly wouldn't mistake it for any other control. It's a good tactile option for when you want to manually change gears and either don't have or don't want to use steering wheel mounted paddles. Given the number of controls around it in relative close proximity, the fact that some controls such as height adjustment for the air suspension are fairly similar in design, I think could be confusing on the move for drivers. But again, I think we can expect to see a similar gear selector on the new 7 Series. One change that's very impressive on the 7 Series, which has been previewed in the video, is a very large 30-inch 8K display which folds down from the roof. Now, intuitively, you'd think that if you could put that on the 7 Series, you could equally put it on the much larger X7, but BMW don't seem to have announced that, at least for now. That might be partly down to the fact that the X7 comes standard with a panoramic glass roof, but equally it might be down to the fact that this is one of the headline features for the new 7 Series. Those are the main changes to the BMW X7, and I anticipate that they're a good preview of some of the styling and interior changes to the new 7 Series. I hope you've enjoyed the video. I'll make another video looking at the 7 Series when it launches in a week's time, so be sure to subscribe to see that video as soon as it's uploaded. Thanks very much, and bye for now.